What's good, YouTube? Orstorm here, coming at you guys in another video. Today I'm discussing the new Dino support that we'll be getting. So this is in, I think, the OCG Anniversary Collection, so I'm not entirely sure exactly when we'll get it, but I think it's important to talk about for, it's always important to keep in mind what's coming out in the OCG, so when it gets to us TCG players, we have an idea what the cards do. So there's a couple of new Dino support cards that caught my eye this morning that I felt like I needed to talk about. So there's two new cards. This new one is called Kaito Petra. I don't know. We'll call him Kaito for this. So Kaito has three effects, and it's a dinosaur, but it's also a wind attribute. I don't think that's that relevant, but it's a level 4 dino, so obviously great synergy with, being able to grab it with both Petite Pteranodon and Baby Cersaurus, etc. Fossil Dig Search, you get the picture. So its first effect is if your opponent controls 2 or more non-wind monsters, face-up wind monsters, those monsters cannot target this card for attacks. These kind of effects aren't super-duper relevant. It might happen when your opponent just simply doesn't pick up your card and read it and goes to battle phase. But that's not the important part of the card. So the second these are the effects that are once per turn. So during your main phase, you can add 1 poly from your deck to your hand. So and then when its card becomes banished, you can special summon it, then add 1 poly from your graveyard to your hand. So this is amazing. It's a poly. It searches a poly, but it also grabs a poly back from the graveyard on top of that when it's banished. So if it's banished to summon Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, if it's banished to summon with Double Evolution Pill, it's great because you activate poly to summon the fusion we're going to talk about in a moment, and then when it's banished, it summons itself back, and you get that same poly that you just searched earlier and used back to your hand. The effects are great. Like, they work perfectly together. It's absolutely fantastic card. But it gets even better when we get to the fusion that uses it as material. So we have this new fusion also called Hellhornsaurus, which requires Kaito, and then 1 dinosaur or dragon. The dragon will matter. We'll get to that in a moment. So if this card is fusion summoned, you can place 1 field spell from your deck or graveyard to face up in the field zone. So you just gave Dinos and Branded free field spell search, because as you can see, Kaito is listed as a material on this card, so you can grab it from deck with things like fusion deployment, and it works with any of those other cards that require, that can search out things that are listed on the card. But mainly we're talking about fusion deployment. It's absolutely like nuts, like this effect, like being able to grab any field spell from the deck, in an era where terraforming is limited, is absolutely amazing. Like, you have things like Necro Valley, for example. While it's not as good against Kashtira, it's definitely really good against some matchups. And in Dinos in particular, you have both Lost World and Dragonic Diagram if you do play it. There's not too much to say, and it gets a little bit better as you go on. So it can attack directly the turn it is special summon. You could definitely sneak some games with this effect. It definitely could come up in time. It's a pretty cool effect. It's also the turn it's special summoned. So by this effect, meaning like if you happen to put it in the grave and then bring it back, you still can attack directly with it. So that was really smart card design in my opinion for this. And during your main phase, you can immediately after effects install just normal summon a Dino Dragon for free. This is just, it's a insanely good card, not just in dinosaurs but also in Branded, because as I said, it's a fusion. The Kaito card is a fusion deployment target, so you can grab Kaito straight from the deck, and then Kaito will search a poly, and then Kaito, if you have a dragon somewhere, if you're playing Branded or Dino, which you will, if you're playing Dinos, you might summon it later in a combo. You can then just get an extra normal summon. The extra normal summon of a dragon also is something that's relevant for Branded, because they do have things like Albaz. So for example, if you have a Branded Lost up and you search a Fallen of Albaz from your deck, you can then just immediately normal summon it on your turn only, obviously, but there's a lot of situations where that extra normal summon could become relevant. There's some hands in Branded where you might have Aluber and Albaz in the same hand, but you can't normal summon them both, especially going second. That could be really relevant if you like normal summon Aluber, then summon this. You can then normal summon the Albaz get it out of your hand. So this is an absolutely fantastic effect cards. It's gonna be as far as like when we're getting them, I'm not really sure. I think the anniversary collection, I don't think we have a release for the TCG for that yet. So it could be a minute before we see these 2 cards. But I'm hoping we see them sooner rather than later, particularly with the TheGameDrake cards coming for us in June. But these cards are absolutely amazing. Like I can't stress enough. Like what makes it good is the fact like a lot of branded players are moving away from the patchwork package, but this is just objectively better because you have it's a fusion deployment target. You only have to play 1 poly, and then when it's banished, it recycles the poly right back. So I think it's absolutely amazing, and it'll be interesting to see how these cards get implemented when they do make their way to the TCG. So anyway, guys, that about comes to the end of the video. What you guys think of these new Dino support cards down in the comment section down below. Do you like them? Do you think they're as good as I do? As always, thank you guys for watching. So Orstorm signing out.